Hi, everyone. Happy Monday. I almost said happy Tuesday because I'm used to doing this live normally on Tuesdays. So it's great to be with all of you. My name's attorney Megan Pastrana here at Immigration for Couples. And my team and I, we are dedicated exclusively to helping couples across the nation and across the world in navigating the U.S. immigration process. And we know that going through your immigration journey, it can be a labyrinth. It can be overwhelming and stressful. And so that's why we host this weekly live chat. So you have a community, you know, you're not alone. You can have guidance and support in your journey. And then that's why we also created our free resource center. And so I'm going to throw that in the banner here below at immigrationforcouples.com. And Rio, she is our wonderful team member. She's with me here today helping to moderate, and she'll also throw those links for you in the comments so you can have those links to the free resources. All right, she's on it. She already did it. All right. And so we normally host these live events on Tuesdays at 11 a.m. Eastern time, but I represent clients all over the world and I have interviews, and just depending on schedules, sometimes we have to just adjust, right? So that's why we're having it here today. So I'm glad you're all able to join me. Next week, we will resume with our our normal Tuesdays at 11 a.m. Eastern time. So please do, whether you're watching this on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Instagram, subscribe to the channel or follow us, and you'll be notified when our next live event is, so you can stay in the loop and join us when you're able. If you are watching this on the replay, please do a hashtag replay and let me know what are your most burning immigration questions. I do go through those. All right. So for those of you who have been joining us for a while, you know the drill. I always like to start out with, where are you at in the world? Where are you at in your immigration journey? And most important, how are you doing? How are you feeling? And I know we have a lot of questions coming in here, so that's great. Maria, good morning to you. I'll let the team know that you said hi. Like I said last time, I love your photo, and it's great to have you here. So where are you at in the world? Where are you at in your immigration journey? And most importantly, how are you doing? How are you feeling? All right. And then I am streaming this live on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, and Instagram. So I have a flurry of questions that are coming through. I'll answer them in the order that I receive them. All right. So Betty, you're up in the queue, and keep it coming. If you're just now joining us, welcome. Doniseta, it's great to have you with us. I hope you're having a really wonderful morning and that you're having a nice day as well. Great that you were able to join us here. All right. So Betty, you're the first up here in the queue. Okay. Yeah. So Betty, you're at the point of your immigration journey where you're needing to schedule your interview. And I'm not sure what you mean by packet number 4. I don't know if you mean that you're like in phase 4 or what you mean by that, but I do understand that you're asking, can you now schedule your interview? And that every time you go on, it says no bookings available. Any suggestions? Do I just keep going on multiple times a day? And how long does it take for clients to find an interview spot? So you'll have to remind me, if I recall correctly, I believe you had said you had a fiance visa, and that makes the most sense because when you have a fiance visa, you're scheduling that interview. So I'm pretty certain in that, but correct me if I'm wrong. So you have to wait to schedule your interview until you receive a notification from the consular section, typically by email. So that U.S. Embassy or consulate will send you an email typically and say, hey, it's now you can go ahead and take the steps forward. You can complete your online consular application, assemble your affidavit of support and all of your required documents. Depending on the country, there's usually creating an online account for registration, for courier registration, scheduling fingerprints, and then paying your online fee and scheduling your appointment. So if you've received that confirmation from the embassy that you can move forward, then yes, go ahead and you can move forward and take those steps. If you haven't received that formal email telling you, okay, good, and you said it's a fiance visa. So yes, you have to receive that confirmation from the U.S. Embassy or consulate saying that you're able to take those next steps forward. You can't schedule that interview until they have confirmed that. So if you haven't received that email, there's still some countries that will send a paper notice, but that usually is followed by an email anyway. But you need to make sure you have that confirmation from them saying take those next steps. I'm assume, and that's why you're saying number 4, that you've gotten your national visa case number, that they've assigned a number and told you it was in transit to the U.S. Embassy or consulate. You can reach out to the U.S. Embassy or consulate if you're not sure. Some of them require you to use their Visa Navigator tool. For the most part, they all do. There's not usually a direct email. So that's packet number 4. Yes, so I'm tracking along with you. So yes, you need to then reach out to the embassy. I'm not clear if so your issue though, okay, you did get that. I'm just now like getting, because there's multiple parts of your comment, and I apologize. I realize now in this part of your comment, you say that they did advise you. So that's perfect. Now I'm understanding, okay, from the other part of your question, that essentially your biggest hurdle right now is finding the interview, right? Okay. So basically, yes, the going on multiple times a day to check for interview availability is what we do. That's a really great a great technique. And I mean, frankly, it's not just a technique, it's what you have to do. So checking multiple times a day, different times a day. What we do with our clients is that both members of the couple and then 1 or 2 members from our team will all check at different times a day, every day, until there's one available. How soon an appointment becomes available, sometimes it takes a few days of doing that. Sometimes it can take many weeks of doing that and checking. I will say that depending on like the time of month too, typically at the beginning and the end of the month, you'll see more appointments open up. So keep an eye on it. We're here at the start of the month. And if you're checking every day, multiple times a day, hopefully here in this first week of November, an interview will open up for you. So keep checking. That's really all you can do. There isn't necessarily a magic solution. I know that's definitely not the greatest system that they have, and it's stressful to have to go in and check all the time, but good luck. I really hope that you find an interview appointment available soon. And I hope that was helpful. All right. All right. Yeah. So good morning to you as well. Texas and UK couple, you're working on submitting your petition. You're nervous and excited. That's normal. They say that the same neural pathways in your brain that signal excitement and nerves or anxiety or fear, that it's the same neural pathway. So when you're feeling both, that's a really normal human experience. And you can lean into choosing more of the excitement, because I know there's a lot of nerves. I understand you're not going to get rid of that, but leaning into that excitement, you're taking these really important steps and you're filing this application so you can be one day closer to being together. So that's fantastic. And you have a specific question on the forms. So I want to be clear and transparent with everyone. I don't answer form specific questions. I'm going to give you general information. And the reason that I can't answer form specific questions is because I don't have all of the details of your relationship and immigration history, and that would be legal advice. But I will be able to give you some general information. All right. So in general, I'm not going to, oh goodness, my allergies. I'm not able to give, specific yes or no or exactly what you should fill in, but I'll give you some general information. So you're wanting to know about that question about living together. And you rented a house together last January, where my wife lives, and I stayed when working in the US on a P1. We did list our address. Do we list our address or never live together? We think we should list it. And so the thing you have to be most careful with saying that you've lived together, especially for the immigrant. Oh gosh, I'm sorry, my allergies are struggling here today. So the thing that you have to be really careful about, especially with an immigrant beneficiary, if they're coming here and visiting on a temporary status, like an ESTA or tourist visa, they're not legally able to live in the United States. So you want to be really careful there, because a lot of immigration officers will say, whoa, wait a minute, were you living in the United States? You're not allowed to do that. So you have to be very careful there. It sounds like, and I know you had joined our prior live and said, that you had that P1 visa. So that's a different situation. And so if immigration is asking if you've ever spent time living together in the same place, then, you want to answer that honestly. All right. But if it was more of a, just like you were Airbnb, like had an Airbnb and you were staying together for a few weeks or a few months for a vacation, Whether or not that's living together, you'd really have to look at all of the specific facts of that time together. But it sounds like you probably were living together then. So, all right. Okay. So Rudy, you said that so you have a social security appointment towards the end of the K1 90-day period. So that's great. You'll be getting that social security number. And on your cover letter for your adjustment, you mentioned the date you arrived to marry your wife. Should I refer to her by her maiden name she was using at the time or by her current legal married name? Whenever you're doing any government application, you always want to use what is the current legal name. So there are places on the application where it asks other names used. If you are married and you've taken your spouse's last name, then you need to use your legal name from that point forward. All right. Um, okay, so you were married in the state of Utah a year ago through the remote marriage. So probably the Utah virtual marriage. And last month we had a formal wedding in China. My wife wants me to move from the US to China. She's wanting me to stay during the whole visa process. If I sell my home, how would that affect the immigration process, or should I rent it out? Um, Okay, and your wife is also pregnant and wants to know about expediting the case. So, congratulations on expecting your first. I guess you didn't say first, but expecting a child, and on your wedding, and you have a lot of life transitions here, and I think that makes sense that your wife wants you to both be able to be together. So I think that that's lovely that you're looking at that and considering that, and you're definitely asking a really important question before making that move. So, as a US citizen petitioner, part of the green card process, when you're petitioning for your fiance, your spouse, and you're going through that green card process, you have to prove to immigration that you have something called domicile in the US. So, domicile is a legal term of art. It essentially means that the US is your home, it's where you're physically residing. And we do have couples who they opt to live together outside of the United States during the process. And so when they tell us that that's their plan, we work with those couples to make sure that they're in compliance with the domicile requirement. Now, I'm not going to tell you whether you should sell or rent or any of that. That's going to be really specific legal advice, and I would need to know much more about your situation to be able to give you actual legal advice. I'm going to give you general information about what we do for clients when it comes to proving domicile. And so if we have a couple wanting to live abroad together, then we talk to that US citizen about domicile and what that means and what that looks like. So some of the most important things to do as a US citizen, if you opt to live temporarily abroad during the process, is ensure that you are maintaining that domicile and you're in compliance with US laws. So number one, most important, make sure that you continue to file your taxes in the United States. That's really important for proving domicile. Maintaining financial accounts in the United States is another really important piece to maintain domicile. So having bank accounts, credit cards, any kind of financial account that you're maintaining in the United States with a US address, that's very helpful as well. Oftentimes for our couples that are temporarily living abroad, if they still have a property in the United States, that can be helpful proof of domicile. So I understand, that's why you're kind of considering both. Even if you're renting it, that's still not your home. In fact, you're not living there. So it's good to still own that property though in the US. That can be considered in that camp of having the connections through financial accounts or financial ties to the US, having a driver's license in the US. And the list goes on. Voter IDs, there's lots of other ways that you can prove domicile, but you have to be very careful and intentional in setting up that strategy to make sure that you're in compliance. Because I've definitely had couples who have come to me and didn't realize this requirement, and now they're at the embassy interview, and the U.S. embassy or consulate is saying, "Hey, U.S. citizen, you don't have domicile. You're not living in the United States." And so we have to work through that reactively because they didn't realize. And so I'm really glad you're asking this question so you can be proactive and intentional in making that decision. And then also having a job in the US. I wanted to mention that too. So a lot of times our US citizen petitioners, they have a job in the US that allows them to work remotely. And so they still have that US employer. They still have all of those US ties to the extent possible to prove that domicile piece. And then in terms of pregnancy being a basis for an expedite, I've made quite a few videos on expedite requests. Expedite requests, if you're not, and it looks like you're not alone with this question. Someone else is asking the same question. What if I submit an expedite request based on pregnancy? So, expedite requests are a request that you can make to immigration asking them to make a decision on your case faster. You have to pay attention, or it's important to understand there are different kinds of expedites depending on where your case is at. Is it with USCIS? Is it with the National Visa Center? Is it with the US Embassy or Consulate or Post? Because each of them has a different process and really a different lens through which they look at the standards and the eligibility for an expedite. So that's part one, is understanding where your case is at, and then understanding that an expedite is a really extreme, it has to be really an extreme situation or a unique situation that's going to cause some higher level of hardship to you as a US citizen petitioner. So immigration doesn't like to approve expedite requests. The reason they say is because think of everybody being in your line, to wait for this decision on their spouse visa, and your situation has to be serious enough that it would be fair for us to pull you out of line and make a decision before someone else's case who's waited longer. So that's their position. That's how they've explained how they look at expedite requests. A pregnancy alone is not a basis for an expedite request. We have gotten expedite requests approved for our clients when they are pregnant, and that's typically in situations where there's pregnancy complications, or there's a need for the other spouse, to be able to be there with them during that pregnancy, or to receive medical care. So the pregnancy alone, you can't just say, hey, I'm pregnant, I'd like an expedite request. Immigration won't approve that. There has to be some additional extenuating circumstances. And then, trying an expedite can be a possibility. Okay. All right. I'm going to see where I'm at in the queue here to make sure I didn't miss anybody, because we had several people asking about okay. Yay. Sonia, we're really glad that you're able to be here with us too. If you have any questions, feel free to throw those in the chat. It looks like you did, so that's awesome. You're next, and you're next. I have one more question before you, and then it looks like you'd be next. Oh, I'm really happy to hear that. So you're living together in Northern Ireland. You're getting ready to start filing the I-130, and that the book, my book, has been a really big source of help. So I'm really happy to hear that. And actually, you reminded me. Let me see if I can reach over here on the other side of my desk and grab it. So I'm really happy, really happy to hear that. Here is the book. So Navigating Love and Immigration, and that's on our website too, that Rhea put in the comments. And so I love the cover. I love looking at the cover because they're the faces of some really amazing couples that my team and I have had the honor and privilege in guiding in their immigration journey. So I'm so happy that the book has been a source of help for you. Thank you for sharing that. That really means a lot. And then here's the other part of your question here. You're having trouble deciding how much pre-marriage relationship evidence to include. You've been married for 16 years. That's amazing. Congratulations. What an important milestone. And you've been living together in the UK for 14 years, but married just 1 week after meeting. Okay. Yes. And you're wondering if we need to overcome that with a mountain of pre-marriage evidence, even though we've been married, living together for 16 years. That's such a great question. And it's been interesting that you asked this question, because this has come up quite a bit recently in immigration interviews for couples that we're guiding, and that my colleagues have mentioned too, is that for individuals who've been married this long, that immigration still seems to be fixated on it being a fast marriage. I was in an interview with a client recently, and the officer made that comment and seemed to really fixate on that. And I reminded them that any concern about a quick marriage, and that's that's really their opinion, is really mitigated by the fact that this couple's been together for so many years. And that's what I'd say in your case. And so I'm really glad you're thinking about this because yeah, immigration officers, even if you've been together that long, can fixate on, oh, this is one of our 100 red flags that we look at. We think that you got married too quickly after meeting. But when you know, you know. And so would I say that you want to do a mountain of pre-marriage evidence? I wouldn't say you'd want a mountain necessarily because it's really infuriating or frustrating. That would be a better word. Frustrating that immigration has so many red flags, and one of them is an oversubmission. So that's why I say in the book it's the Goldilocks standard. You don't want to have too much, but you don't want to have too little. So there's like this Goldilocks standard. I would say have enough evidence to tell your story, to show immigration. We've been together. We've been living together living together and being together for 16 years. You want enough of that. You want to make sure you have your whole timeline. So if you have a few things of courtship evidence, that's what they call it. So pre-marriage evidence, if you have a few things that really help immigration to see how your union started, even if that was, a short duration, you knew you loved each other, but have a few things if you do have that available. You have so many years you've been together, pick photos throughout that timeline, pick photos from every single year, and put together a packet of everything that shows that entire timeline. So I wouldn't worry about like necessarily the mountain of pre-marriage evidence. A few solid pieces of evidence is great. And then also that entire timeline of being together for 16 years, that'll really help mitigate any possible concerns an immigration officer would have that it was, marriage too quickly in their eyes. So I hope that helps. So. Okay, yeah, Daniel, I'm gonna get to your question too, because this has come up from a lot of clients over the weekend. I've had a lot of people send me this, so I definitely want to address your question too, because I'm sure others have had this as well. And actually, I'm just gonna. Okay, good. Thank you for confirming that was helpful. I'm really glad. Actually, I am gonna skip to your question, Daniel, because you're not alone in this. We've had a lot of individuals receiving the USCIS notice of $1,000 fee after a green card holder after they've traveled and come back into the United States. Immigration is just extremely disorganized, especially under this administration. They make tons of mistakes, and definitely this administration makes tons of mistakes. So just because you receive something from immigration, don't take it at face value. Definitely ask questions because you're exactly right. It's wrong. They've been sending these blanket notices now, and it really has just happened very recently, like in the past few days, few days to a week or so, saying that, hey, you traveled and now you're going to have to pay $1,000 fee for being paroled into the US. And so no, as a green card holder, you're being admitted as a green card holder into the United States. You're not being paroled, so there's no $1,000 fee. Do not, if you are a green card holder, do not pay anything. Immigration, they will take fees and they won't correct their mistake. They'll take your money. So I'm glad you're asking this because you're definitely not alone in this random and erroneous notice for the $1,000. So thank you for bringing this up. All right. I wanted to see where I left off. Okay, so Sonia, I told you were next. I'm sorry I skipped you, but I saw that question about the $1,000 parole, and I definitely didn't want to forget to let people know, don't pay immigration fees just because they tell you to. So you applied for your husband to come to the U.S. From the Dominican Republic. The application was accepted at USCIS. We were watching the case, and it went at the end of October. It said 4 weeks to decision. And now it says 10 months. Is that normal? Yes. That online tool in your online account, it's not a good tool. It's not something to rely on. I actually made a video on this too because your question is it's a very popular question because I know you get excited, right? You get into your online account and you're like, yay, we're so close. And then they like go up to, 10 months or 12 months. And it gives you whiplash, the worst kind, when it comes to your immigration case. So don't pay a heed. Right now, we've been seeing for I-130 petitions that it's taking about 15 to 16 months to get a decision. Sometimes it can be a few months more than that or less. There is a USCIS processing times tool that's separate from what's in your account. And that processing times tool is usually a little bit more accurate. So you can look at that. But yeah, it's normal. I know that's annoying. So we tell our clients that in advance. Like if you see it go through a roller coaster, pay it no heed. It's not reliable. And it oftentimes will just stress you out. So try to not pay any attention to it. So yeah, thank you for your patience and your understanding for me to jump to that other question. I appreciate that. All right, we did it again. I got through all the questions today. That makes me very happy. Thank you all for being with me here today. I hope that this was helpful. Please do check out our free resources. I will be here. Yeah, you're very welcome. It is hard to plan your life when immigration doesn't give you any indication of a real estimate on your wait time. But hang in there. You're one day closer every day. All right, everybody, take care of yourselves, take care of each other. Don't lose hope. You will make it to the finish line. And Monique, you said I missed yours? I went in the order of what I received here. Let me double check. Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry because I did the pregnancy question and I grabbed. Thank you for bringing that to my attention. I'm not leaving yet. Sorry. So Moni, if everybody else needs to go for your day, have an amazing day. Have an amazing rest of your week. I'll be here next week. And Monique, I'm going to stay here and answer your question. So you change your last name after you submitted your husband's I-130. Should you notify USCIS? So that's it's a great question. That's a really common question. So if you've changed your last name after submitting the I-130, that's all right. We're going to have to update your information with immigration a few times throughout the process. So there's going to be a process with the National Visa Center and a process at the U.S. Embassy or Consulate. And the reason that they have you fill out very long applications in every phase of the case is because they know things change in the interim of waiting. So you'll be able to, in future steps, update that at the National Visa Center. You're always welcome to send an amendment to immigration. I was at a conference recently with immigration officers, and they said when people send amendments by mail or even on the online account, it doesn't always make it in the file. So you can do that. You could send an amendment and let immigration know that your last name's changed. Otherwise, you'll have opportunities in the next steps. You're welcome so much. All right. All right, everybody. Have a fantastic rest of the week. Like I said, take care of yourselves, your mental health, take care of each other. Don't lose hope. I know it's a very stressful time. Lean on this community here at Immigration for Couples. I'll see you all next week. Take care. All right. Bye, everybody.